Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will be looking at the messages between Jay and his friends, which were released at the inquest. Also, Mark Williams Thomas has recordings that haven't been released, and apparently, they include discussions about criminal offenses. But the Spanish police don't want to see this. So the first thing that we are going to look at are the messages that were recovered from Jay's phone. Also, I just want to say that it wasn't confirmed if the phone was found with Jay or not, and we are still waiting for that information. The first message that we are going to look at is from Brandon Hodgson, who was saved as Haji on Jay Slater's phone, because I'm guessing that's where they got the name Haji from, and we know that Haji is obviously Brandon. The message says, "Get that 2-ton out for me as well, bro." Now this message could have many different meanings, but I'm going to tell you what I personally think, and what I think Brandon is saying to Jay is to get that 200 pounds out for him. And the reason why I say that is because 2-ton is slang for 200 pounds, depending on what area you are from. Also, it makes sense, because if you change it up and instead of saying 2-ton, just replace it with 200 pounds, the message then reads out, "Get that 200 pounds out for me as well, bro," which makes sense. Now, there are a few problems with this. First of all, Brandon says, "as well." So, who else does Jay need to get money out for? Could it be Ayub or Rocky or even Lucy? Remember, this is my opinion of what I think the messages meant. So if any of you think different, please let me know down in the comments. Now, we need to think of why Jay owes Brandon and others money, or if that's even the case. Because if you remember a TikTok video we looked at recently from Little Miss Vodka, you can see that apparently Lucy was using Jay's bank account to collect money for illegal substances. So maybe that information was true, and that's what was happening, but it involved Brandon as well, and Jay was getting the money out of his account for them. But this is where it gets very weird, because this message from Brandon was sent at 9:26 p.m., but 16 minutes before that, Jay's card was declined twice, once for a payment of 320 euros, and then 1 minute later, his card was declined again for a payment of 160 euros. So what's going on here? Was Jay spending all this money that they were sending into his account? Because if they were using his account and his card got declined, then either he had no money in there because it was gone, or they froze his bank account. You have to think of these payments because it was stated that they were debit card payments. So Jay was trying to pay for something, not trying to take money out a cash machine, or he was getting cash back. But the problem is, the police can't trace where these payments are from, so we have no idea exactly what Jay was trying to do. The main thing here, in my opinion, is that Brandon was asking Jay to get money out for him. So either Jay owed Brandon money, or Brandon was making money, and using Jay's bank account for the funds along with Lucy. I'm sure most of you will remember that at the start, there were a few messages that started off by saying, "This is an anonymous post, but Lucy is a drug dealer in Tenerife and makes like 25,000 pounds a month," or something like that. Well, I can't help but think there could be elements of the truth in those posts. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree? And let me know why. Down in the comments. Remember, this is my opinion. I'm not saying I know the answers, and what I have said is right. I'm just giving you my views after looking at the information, so we can work this out. One more thing I would like to add is that this message from Brandon and the bank account activity was at 9:10 p.m. and 9:26 p.m. on the 16th of June, so Brandon would have seen and interacted with Jay after that message. So I wonder how Brandon reacted when Jay told him that he couldn't get that 200 pounds out for him. The next messages that we are going to look at are also from Brandon, and these messages are very worrying. We have two articles here. One says that Jay spoke to a friend at 2:39 a.m., and the other one says Jay spoke to Brandon at 2:40 a.m. So I'm guessing they are both on about Brandon, which means that at 2:39 a.m. on the 17th of June, Jay sent a message to Brandon which says, "They've got a marker on me." This is something that is very suspicious. And again, this could mean a lot of things. But I'm thinking that he could be on about his bank account, because if his card got declined twice, then his bank could have thought that he is doing something suspicious, which resulted in them putting a marker on his account. But there hasn't been any other information about Jay's bank account other than the 2 payments that got declined. No one has said that his bank account was frozen, so Jay could have meant something else when he says this. Brandon replies back to Jay at 2:40 a.m., which is pretty much straight away, so something must have been going on at that moment for Brandon to reply so quickly. But he says, "You need to get home, lad. You're off your Barnet." And I don't know how Brandon meant this. Was he actually worried for Jay, or was he literally telling Jay to come home now, because he needed to give someone money maybe? This reply from Brandon is something I need to think about more. But Jay replies back to Brandon again and says, "You think I'm going home? You must be disabled." I can't find a timestamp for this message, but what Jay says here is very worrying, because to me, it sounds like Jay can't go home. Not that he doesn't want to, but he can't. Because Jay is literally telling Brandon that he must be disabled if he thinks Jay is going home. So he's basically insulting Brandon. And maybe all the friends are acting like they wanted Jay to come home and that he was responsible for his own actions. But maybe Jay actually couldn't come home. The next message that I want to speak about is the message that wasn't recovered, which Jay sent to someone at 8:13 a.m., allegedly. Firstly, I don't know much about mobile data and what information they get. But how have they found the time of the message but can't see what was said? Did Jay even send a message? This message could have been very important. And another thing I don't understand is why they were able to recover messages from Lucy at 8:35 a.m., but not a message at 8:13 a.m. Remember we got told by Ayub that Jay asked Brandon if it was all right to be around Ayub and Rocky. So where is that message? Did it get deleted? Something that does stand out to me is that at 8:13 a.m., Jay was apparently 26 minutes away from the Airbnb, which meant that if he left around 7:47 a.m., then he would have had to be constantly walking for 26 minutes to match the time. So how has he stopped to ask people about the bus times at 7:50, which would have taken a couple of minutes, and still made it that far away at that exact time? That doesn't make sense to me. There are more messages to look at, so I will be doing a part 2. But before we end today's video, I want to show you the latest update from Mark Williams Thomas. So I want you to listen to this very carefully, because Mark talks about audio recordings where they discuss criminal offenses, and this is serious.
Many of you will have watched some of the coverage that I have in relation to Jay Slater, and indeed the video that I put up yesterday. I was very clear in that video where I said that I had shared my information with the Spanish authorities. I've been in communication with them, but they hadn't come back to me. And that's exactly the point, is that I sent the information I had in an email to the Spanish authorities. I told them I wasn't able to share with them the audio recording at this point because I needed to explain to them how I had obtained it. And also I was very conscious that it was highly sensitive and I didn't want it just being shared all around. They've never come back to me. And that is the point in relation to this, is that I have been really open, and all of my investigation, it's about working with the authorities. It's more difficult when it's abroad because Spain and France and Portugal, they have this situation where they really don't like working with the public to get information. They think they always know the answers. The British police are very different. Very good relationship with British police forces. When I do investigations on cases here, more often than not, they work with me. I share information with them, they share information with me when it's appropriate. And so there's a much different relationship, unfortunately, abroad. Many forces abroad, it's quite difficult. That said, there are some really good countries. I've done an investigation in Thailand and Cambodia, and they work really, really closely with me. Being an ex-detective, shared a lot of information that enabled us, in one case where we were able to track down some child traffickers and we got them arrested. That worked really well in Cambodia and in Thailand, and indeed in India. I did an investigation where the Indian authorities were brilliant. The Indian police were absolutely brilliant. They shared all of the documentation they had, which enabled me to get to who I was convinced was the killer and do an interview with him. And so it does work really well. But for those that are criticising me, saying, why haven't you handed the information to police? I have told them exactly what I've got. I just haven't shared the audio recordings with them because of the sensitive nature of them. And it needs to be explained properly. And I need to deal with the continuity of evidence as well. I can't just be sharing information which could potentially be really important. There are discussions on there which are about criminal offences. And therefore, it's really important that if that information is shared, it's done in the correct way, evidentially wise. So moving forward,
So Mark says that in the audio recordings he has, which I'm guessing are the interviews with the friends and Ayub, criminal offenses are talked about. And I'm just wondering if that has anything to do with the bank situation and the fact that Jay tried to either get cash back or spend a lot of money when he apparently didn't even have money for a taxi back. Or is it more information about the stolen watch? Because Mark states in a video that Ayub has given him some evidence which would give us more answers about why Jay left the Airbnb, but this is from Ayub, so what can we actually believe? One thing I do know for sure is that Mark needs to release the information he has. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we will update you as we find out more.